So now in our blockchain, we want to be able to create a network, and we want to have a way of registering all these different nodes with our network. So right now we're going to make a couple more endpoints that will make registering nodes with our network possible. The first endpoint that we will create will be app.post to register and broadcast node. And it takes in a callback function with the request response. Cool. So what this endpoint will do is it will register a node and broadcast that node to the whole network. It will register a node and broadcast that node to the entire network. And how we're going to do that is we are going to pass in the URL of the node we want to register on the rec body. So inside of this endpoint, we can simply say const new node URL equals rec.body dot new node URL. Cool. Now we're not going to build out this endpoint right now, but I just want to mention that when we do use this endpoint, we are going to send in the URL of a new node that we want to add to our network. And then we're going to do some calculations down here, and we're going to broadcast it to the entire network so all the other nodes can add it as well. Cool. The next endpoint that we are going to create will be app.post to /register node and a callback function res. Okay. And all this endpoint is going to do is it is going to register a node with the network. Cool. So how are these two endpoints different? Basically what's going to happen is whenever we want to register a new node with our network, we are going to hit this endpoint, register and broadcast node. This endpoint is going to register the new node on its own server, and then it's going to broadcast this new node to all of the other network nodes. Those network nodes will simply accept the new network node inside of this endpoint, because all we want those other network nodes to do is simply register it. We just want them to register the new node. We do not want them to broadcast the new node, because the new node has already been broadcast. If all the other nodes in the network were to broadcast the new node as well, that would severely degrade the performance of our blockchain network and would lead to an infinite loop and would totally crash our blockchain. So when all of the other network nodes receive the new node's URL, we just want them to register it. We don't want them to broadcast it. Cool. And the final endpoint that we are going to be building out in this section will be app.post to register nodes bulk with a callback function res. Cool. So what this endpoint will do is it will register multiple nodes at once. Now, I realize that all of this might be a little bit confusing at this point, so I'm going to use a diagram to explain how all three of these endpoints will be working together. So to explain a little bit better how these three endpoints are going to work together to build out this blockchain network, we're going to use a diagram. So here we have our blockchain network, and let's assume that these 5 network nodes are already connected to each other. So this is our decentralized network. And let's assume that we want to add this node to our network. And this node is hosted on localhost port 3009. The first thing that we are going to do to add this node to our network is we are going to hit the register and broadcast node endpoint on one of our network nodes. Now we can hit this endpoint on any of these nodes, and that will work just fine. But for this example, we're going to hit our register and broadcast node endpoint on this network node. When we hit this register and broadcast node endpoint, we need to send along the URL of the new node that we want to add to our network, which is localhost 3009. Cool. So that's the first step for adding a new node to our network. We have to hit our register and broadcast node endpoint with the new node's URL as data. So this network node that we hit is going to register this new URL on its own node, and then it's going to broadcast this new node's URL to the rest of the network. All the other nodes in our network will receive this data at the register node endpoint. We are going to hit the register node endpoint on all the other network nodes because we don't need to broadcast the data anymore. We just need to register it. And then finally, after this new URL is registered with all the other network nodes, our original node is going to make a request to the new node. And it's going to hit the register node's bulk endpoint. And it's going to pass along the URLs of all the other nodes with it. So what this call will do is it will register all the other nodes that are already present inside of our network. It will register all these nodes with our new node. And that's it. At this point, this node is now part of the network, and all of the nodes inside of the network will be aware of all the other nodes present in the network as well. So from top to bottom, let's run through this one more time. The first thing that we're going to do to add a new node to our network is hit the register and broadcast node endpoint of one of the nodes inside of our network. This endpoint will register the new node's URL with itself, and then it will broadcast that new URL to all the other nodes in the network. After the broadcast is complete, the original network node that we hit will send a request to our new network node, and it will hit the register node's bulk endpoint. Doing this will register all the other nodes in the network with our new node. And that's it. So when this whole process is complete, all of these nodes will be a part of our decentralized blockchain network, and they will all be registered with each other. Cool. So that's how these three endpoints are going to work together. Let's build out our register and broadcast node endpoint in our next video. I'll see you there.